Hillary Swank. I'm so excited. I've admired you for so long. I'm so thrilled to be able to talk to you about this project. So thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So congratulations on Away. In this show, you play Emma, the commander of the first mission to Mars. And what struck me about it immediately was this is another crazy demanding role for you, both physically and psychologically. The harnesses you guys wear are just remarkable. I'm curious, as a woman who's made a career playing physically and psychologically demanding roles, what's the appeal for you?
I love a challenge. I'm a Leo. Probably is just part of like my astrological makeup, but I also love, I don't know, I find a lot of like reward in the challenge of physicality. And it's just something that makes me feel accomplished, or not if I can't do it. But there's just something about like, trying to get to that goal and really persevering and that I appreciate. And I really like that in human beings, just a quality in a character, in a person, a person that really perseveres, whether it's emotional or physical.
Absolutely. So one of the most interesting elements of the show is how heavily it relies on you as actors. When you're in the scenes on the ship, it's just the five of you talking in this little room. How do you go about preparing for that so that it never feels stale or boring?
Well, we rely heavily on the writers. The writing is just, I think, really astounding. It gets to the heart of things. It's funny, it's moving, it's relatable, it's at times, astonishing. But the idea of like having all these different characters, right? We have different people from all different walks of life, different races, and going through their own specific journey. Yet when you break through the kind of the stereotypes that are put on people, you get to the commonality, which is the human quality of each person. And that's what we have in those rooms, is we see that each of us is connected by this desire and this common goal to get to Mars, but we're also pulled by family below and the past and the choices that we've made that we have to live with and now find forgiveness in, because if we never make it back, it's a lot of things that I think that anyone can relate to, whether you're on a mission to Mars or not.
Absolutely. And it's a great character study that way.
Yeah.
So I have to confess something to you because I've been waiting 20 years to ask you about a movie that changed my life. It's called Boys Don't Cry. One of the most amazing films I've ever seen, with one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Now looking back 20 years, I'm curious because I don't know that people quite understand how hard you prepared for that part and some of the things that you did. I wonder if you might tell me a little bit about living as a trans man for a month and some of the other things you did to get insight into Brandon Teena.
Yes, I would love to have a conversation with you about it. I wish we could have a longer conversation about it, because it was clearly a life changing experience for me. I think one of the things is that stories give us this ability to either relate to or learn something from or be entertained by. And in this case, I was able to learn about a person who was born in the same hospital I was born in 2 years before me. Brandon Teena was born in Lincoln, Nebraska at Lincoln Memorial, which is where I was born 2 years later. And it's just crazy to think of like how our lives were like crossing,
Yeah.
And I read this story and I knew immediately that there was this connection. In a lot of ways, it transcended gender, and it was about just wanting to give and receive love and live your life the way you saw best for yourself. And that was the connective tissue right there. And but then I also recognized that that it was this really important job to portray this person who had lived and whose life legacy would hopefully go on through the film, and portray it in the most honest and heartfelt ways possible. And one of those ways was to make sure that I was really passing in a way that was believable, because the actors that I was working with were always going to just say, of course, they pretended that they thought it. And so I went out and I was living in the world as best as I could, trying to pass as a boy at the time. I was 24 years old, and what I saw and what I experienced was one that was life-changing for me, because I scratched the surface of what it feels like to not be able to be defined by what stereotypical, systemic ideas of how gender should be. And at times it was, it was greatly disappointing. I was really upset with the human race. And I was deeply discouraged by people and their reactions to me, the same exact person that had been walking around, and when I was able to be defined, was treated a very different way. So that's the power of storytelling, and that's the power of being able to walk in someone else's shoes and have empathy for what someone else is going through. But the biggest and most beautiful thing that came from it, I think, is that it started a conversation that was so important, that we've come a long way since then. We still have a long way to go, right?
Absolutely. That was a beautiful answer. So thank you so much. And I would love to talk about this with you more sometime. So hit me up whenever you like. But thank you and congratulations on the new show.
Thank you so much.
Sure.